Good morning. This is the Innovation Conversation. How you doing, Tom?
Good morning, Kevin. Doing well. How about you?
Doing great. Doing
All
great.
right.
So I wanted to talk a little bit today about so Walmart has announced a partnership with OpenAI, which is going to allow it to sell products through ChatGPT, what they call their instant checkout program. Um, I sort of understand this, I think a little bit, but I want to rely on your far greater knowledge of this stuff just to explain to me and Morning Newsbeat readers, what exactly does this mean?
So quite simply, and they announced a collaboration with Etsy a few weeks ago, and
ChatGPT.
yeah, and you're starting to hear about some other app collaborations as well from them. But in this case, quite simply, you ask ChatGPT about products, and ChatGPT can reference Etsy's and soon Walmart's catalog to present products to solve the need that you're chatting with ChatGPT about. And instant checkout allows you to proceed through to a transaction with the merchant while not leaving ChatGPT.
So it's like the merchant is setting up, for lack of a better term, ancillary checkouts in other site on another site as opposed to just its own.
But in that case, they're using the ChatGPT instant checkout, which uses a Google service for payments.
Right.
So it allows the retailer to settle that transaction, yes, through without the user ever leaving ChatGPT, but that transaction is with the merchant. It's not with ChatGPT and then sent to the merchant for fulfillment. That is actually transacted with the merchant.
Does that likely mean that I'm going to oversimplify it here, that the money is being collected by ChatGPT, they're taking their cut and then sending the
No,
balance to Walmart?
no, it actually is. It's the merchant in that case is Walmart.
Okay, so
So
they're
like the way it works with Etsy is the merchant is Etsy.
right.
And ChatGPT is very clear to let you know that Etsy is the merchant. If you have any post, purchase follow-up needed, customer service, returns, whatever, that's with Etsy.
But ChatGPT is taking a cut.
They're facilitating it. I am not sure if they're taking a cut yet.
And
I
maybe,
will
yeah.
say that because certain technology companies in our world, one of which we speak about often on this, and I can't say much, but is engaged around that right now. And ChatGPT or OpenAI they're not yet charging for that. But they also have not determined what the ultimate business model is yet around that. So for them now, it's about accumulating customers, accumulating transactions, accumulating these connections. Um,
So they could build a business model
they will develop a
and then
business
and then
case.
figure out, okay, now this is what the traffic will bear, and now we
Yeah.
can.
Yes. So, I know from us looking at that in our world, and they're very clear with it as well. Like, you know, this is definitely a place you're going to want to pursue,
Right.
but don't over-index on your strategy here because we don't know what the business model is yet. So just, be aware that this could change,
What about customer
from what we have today.
what about customer data? Is that being collected by both? Is it like, I mean, maybe with some of this we don't know, but if
Well,
I'm
I mean, just take the Walmart example, right? I mean, you're having a conversation with ChatGPT. They get all that data. They know you. They have so much more data about you from the other stuff you've chatted with them about, right? So they know like ridiculous amounts about you. Although I don't know how many people are super concerned about that privacy issue, but it's there. So they know all that about you. You then go to transact with Walmart. You authenticate with Walmart while you do that. So Walmart knows who you are. Then Walmart can then link that to your other purchase history with them. And so then Walmart has all that data from the connection to Walmart kind of forward through the process and then can integrate that or look at that with the, with the balance of your commerce with them. And, once you hand that over, I assume you're behind a Walmart firewall where ChatGPT, OpenAI cannot then
right.
access. but they'll know that you bought the product. So, they'll have that. And I don't think anything today prevents them from, having that, categorizing that, cataloging that, and leveraging it.
Does Walmart do this because at the end of the day it gives them access just to so many more customers than they would have otherwise?
Yeah. I mean, you hear it like an 800 million, unique visitors per month uh, number from ChatGPT. Now, that's not all commerce users, right? That's users of any type, but that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
And that's like Amazon-esque as far as, numbers go. It's bigger than Amazon as far as numbers go, but even if you took the commerce, who knows how much of that is commerce related today? I know they're saying it's a fair amount, like people looking to solve problems and asking about
Right.
so that is potentially a pretty rich source of traffic that, these retailers used to rely on the search, used to rely on Google for.
Yeah. Because right now, I would imagine, and I don't spend that much time on ChatGPT. I may get product information there, but right now, the number of actual transactions that are being facilitated by ChatGPT are probably pretty low
Oh, it's
at
very
this,
tiny.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so then let's move on to what this means, and specifically, you brought up Amazon.
Yeah.
So are they foreseeing? Well, the line I always used to use was that Amazon wants to be the often best place to go for almost anything, right? And that was what they right. And now is the OpenAI ChatGPT function, this instant checkout, is the idea that they want to specifically go after that. In other words, they want, when I think about, oh, I need XYZ, I'm going to go to ChatGPT because it's going to give me access to a far greater universe of products, pricing, quality, whatever, than I'm going to get theoretically on Amazon. I mean, that's their goal, is to become,
Well,
of course.
so Sam Altman's pretty clear that he wants ChatGPT to be the AI assistant for everyone everywhere, right? That you reference for any need that you have, right? Where you may have, there may be information may be a part of that need, right? So whether you're writing something, whether you're researching something, whether you're going to buy something, whether you're trying to solve an ailment, whether you're trying to cook a meal, right? They want to be your go-to place for all of that. And then facilitating commerce is very natural
Yeah,
extension of that, right? So in that world, for these 800 million unique monthly, visitors, they want to solve all of these things. And that is kind of Amazon-esque, right? Amazon in a commerce world, right, wants to be the place where you go to research products, find the products, research the products, and buy the products. And then you think of, other extensions, around Alexa. I want to make sure mine doesn't. Okay, I said it that way so she wouldn't turn
mine
on.
did. Mine did.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Uh, so around that, then you'd look at all the home connectivity, like around Ring and cameras, and you think about all the ways that Amazon wants to help you in your life. They want to help you in your life for all those ways that ultimately drives to commerce, right? And ultimately drives to advertising, right? Their whole, the studios business, the Prime business, the Prime Video business, that's all part of creating this ecosystem that drives advertising and drives commerce. That's all separate from the AWS side. But so, Amazon very much wants to be that.
Right.
This is a big threat to what Amazon wants to be.
And which is, if I'm reading things right, it's one of the reasons Amazon has not signed up to be part of this universe at this
It's
point.
interesting.
And it's a, I mean, I gather, listen, there's some debate within the media as to whether they should or will,
Uh,
reflecting the likelihood that they're having the same debate within Amazon.
well, they have to be having the debate, and it's not an easy debate, right? So historically, Amazon, it was a platform where all the information and the functionality, the reach, the effectiveness, like the platform was this force, but this force connected to a lot of the outside world, right?
Right.
I could be shopping on another like on a brand's website, but then I can transact and fulfill it through Amazon, right? I have this kind of whole network that works. And so it was kind of this idea of this open commerce platform, and yet closed at its core. Super valuable. It enabled it to build a massive advertising business,
Right.
right? So if customers are going to be starting anywhere other than there and are not going to be making the product decision there,
Hmm.
it's a threat to that ad business.
Yeah.
However, and again, who knows out of the 800 million visitors, how many people are actually doing product search? Although I think it's significant and growing fast, right? So it's going to be a big. I think it's going to be ultimately far too big to ignore. And not only is Amazon, they're not ignoring it. I mean, Amazon literally is blocking
Yeah.
that to reference Amazon's product information and ultimately the Amazon catalog, right? So, and I understand why they're careful there because of the threat to the ad business and ultimately, but I think if Amazon truly continues to try to become a better and better Amazon with better and better product information, right? We talked about Project Starfish where they're crawling hundreds of thousands of sites to make their product catalog bigger, more effective. They have their buy for me, function where they can use their agentic AI to go and find a product elsewhere. Like a lot of that kind of competes with what ChatGPT can do, but a lot of it also would benefit from the traffic uh, potential from ChatGPT. So it's just an interesting spot for them to determine, are they going to stay, their own ecosystem completely independent of that, or are they going to play with that because of the massive numbers? And
Yeah.
it's early
Yeah.
yet. So to think of how those numbers can ultimately grow. Now, I don't know if the 800 million, it's going to be ultimately limited based on like size of population, but even if you have a billion people a month, they're doing more on it, right? More and more. And I think we all know that we're using it more than we used it prior. It's going to be a pretty big,
Yeah.
could potentially be a pretty big opportunity. And what kind of is striking me a little bit here is historically, Walmart, for example, was this very closed ecosystem, right? Um, and Amazon was this open ecosystem. But now, kind of Walmart, with everything it's doing in AI and the big marketplace that it's opened, and this work with ChatGPT, Walmart's becoming more of an open
Right.
platform player. And Amazon right now is holding its cards close to the vest and saying, "Don't come in here."
Yeah.
Um, so it's interesting that Amazon's kind of starting to act more like Walmart used to.
Yeah.
Walmart's starting to act more like Amazon used to, and will that continue? It's got to be a top issue inside Amazon today.
Yeah.
How to
Yeah.
figure that out.
I mean, it's interesting because the comment I always used to make was that, Amazon wanted to be everything to everybody, which is why it had so many businesses, and Walmart just wanted to sell you stuff. But within this particular discussion or this issue, that actually works to Walmart's advantage.
That's
Because Amazon has all these other businesses and it has to figure out, like, okay, and the little things. I remember there was a story in the information talking about, well, listen, they got to figure out, like, if we do business with them, can we get them to move over to AWS? And what does that mean for AWS? I mean, there's so many different
all
moving.
these guys are doing deals with each other now. It's like, oh, I'll work with you here, buy my chip. I mean, there's so much of that happening now. And I do think ultimately there's a potential big unlock
Yeah,
for Amazon to develop a working relationship with OpenAI,
right,
ChatGPT. I do. Their 70, 80, 90 billion dollar app business, whatever it is these days, there's implications for it, but for sure.
right.
But I think if you continue to think about the role that Amazon can play in folks' lives, particularly if it has a symbiotic relationship with ChatGPT and may compete with ChatGPT in some ways, I think ultimately, if as you get creative and evolve the business model and the capabilities that you offer within that model, I think Amazon can find itself in a really good place.
Yeah,
Because at the end of the day, they have, an amazing assortment. they're much bigger than Walmart's assortment, even as Walmart extends their marketplace.
Yeah.
And they have an amazing fulfillment network.
Yeah.
Yes, Walmart has a good fulfillment network with the stores. It's good for grocery. It's okay for other categories. But Amazon's is amazing. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there's a big unlock there. And I know they're being careful about it, but my guess is they're going to find a way to work
Yeah.
with them. I think if they refuse to work with them, it's going to be incredibly risky. And I think a lot of things, customers could turn against them, Wall Street could turn against them. It could go bad.
Yeah. I have another question I want to ask you, but before I do, just sort of parenthetically, w- I wonder. So in some ways, ChatGPT, OpenAI, I thought this was like big news, right? The right in terms of commerce, the Walmart.
Walmart stock went up 5% on the news. Yeah.
But they stepped on their own good news by also announcing that they're going to essentially allow for porn, right? Which got a lot of people upset because because they don't trust the age gating. I don't trust the age gating. And
Right.
so, and I think there's a lot of legitimate concerns about the impact of creating quote unquote relationships,
Yeah.
young people creating relationships with synthetic beings. And I thought it was like, why would you announce that at the same time? Like enjoy
I
the
don't
moment.
get it.
Um,
Yeah.
and I think, and so I have to say, and maybe this is me being old man cranky, but I tend to be, I'm a little, I don't trust, I have to be honest, I don't trust these guys. And I think that I don't trust their instincts. And I think that it is not hard to imagine them making a move or doing something that just pulls the Jenga block at the bottom and the whole thing collapses because they're not thinking about things like, well, wait a minute. Yeah, we can make a little bit of money on porn, but it could threaten the larger enterprise.
They're
So that,
moving so fast that I agree there's a risk. Like, does something, and I've been thinking about that, right? Is there a move, a stumble that OpenAI could make that like causes us to significantly question them and they start to stumble and or crumble, which would be a big crumble.
yeah,
And then like, what does that mean just for the whole? I mean,
yeah,
all these AI, we talked about in the last innovation conversation, and others talk about, is there a house of cards happening here with
right.
everybody doing deals with each other? And I think as long as it keeps going up if we are truly in the early innings, then I think these deals all make sense and there's plenty of upside
Yeah.
for all to enjoy. But yeah, if is there a Jenga block that they could pull inadvertently that could mess it up?
And
And
it might,
I don't think porn's necessarily a bet you want to make early.
right.
Um, just don't I don't know. I mean, it just doesn't feel like it's
And the thing is
necessary.
that and the block might get pulled, or the block that gets pulled that collapses the thing might have nothing to do with OpenAI or ChatGPT, right? It could be somebody they're doing business with, and there's just there's so I'm very skeptical. I'm skeptical. I'm just cautious. I just
Yeah,
worry
yeah, no, I agree.
that again, I sound cranky. I worry that we're unleashing forces that we really don't understand.
No, I definitely agree. I mean, we know that porn is a big business.
Right.
I mean,
Oh.
we don't really know quite
In
how big it is.
technology, it leads, right?
Well, in technology, it's historically led.
Right.
I mean, I remember my early ecom days working with the guys. I'm not going to say what their company was called, but the guys they were literally out of Penn and
Yeah.
Harvard, that had a big conglomerate in like a vertically integrated company in that space. But they were like the forefathers of online payments,
Yeah.
security, obviously content creation and vertical integration, personalization. Like, I
Sometimes
mean,
in porn, sometimes it's vertical integration, sometimes it's horizontal.
oh my gosh.
I'm
But,
sorry.
you know,
I'm
but
sorry.
it was,
I
but that was
couldn't
all
help myself.
commercially driven. That was market driven. That was commercially driven. And these guys had to move fast on the front edge of that. So there's clearly and there's a lot of innovation there. I don't know, how, like, what is tipping them to feel like it's a risk,
Worth taking.
worth taking now. Um, And you saw a bunch of prominent names come out.
Mark Cuban said this is
He's the biggest one that came out.
yeah, because
Now,
such a mistake. And he
is
inv
anybody going to come out and applaud him for it though? Like, hey, I think that's great that they like. Nobody's really going to do that, I don't think. But
anyway,
'But I guess my point is there a reason to even say that's a brilliant move? Like, I don't know.
no,
Like, maybe it's brilliant. I don't know what would make it brilliant, and therefore I don't know why you would need to do that now.
yeah, me neither. Okay, I want to get back. I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
didn't mean to send us down that rabbit hole. The one thing I wanted to just finish up on though is okay. So we're talking about Walmart, we're talking about Amazon, we're talking about
Mhm.
ChatGPT and OpenAI. But what about every other retailer, almost every other retailer in the universe, right?
Yeah.
Who does not have how should they be thinking about this stuff? I mean, and quite frankly, this might be something we end up talking a little bit about in the technology tracks at NGA in February, right?
Yeah.
What do you, how do you view this? Do you just say, well, let it go and I'm just gonna keep selling bread and meat
No, I mean that didn't work when the internet became a
oh,
thing. You kind of maybe could get away with it a little bit when social became a thing. Because remember, we all thought people were just going to shop on Facebook and Instagram.
right,
That didn't happen so much, but TikTok is a big
sure.
driver of commerce, right? So, I mean, you definitely can't sit back. Um, I think it's an area you have to play, you have to understand. As a 5, 10, 20 store chain, even a 50 to 100 store chain, frankly, um, it'll be hard to jump up and be super relevant in the world of ChatGPT, given the size and scale. You can, but it's early and I don't know how much resource you want to put toward it. But what I would make sure is to the extent you're working with tech partners,
Who
right?
are who are
You
investing?
work with Instacart, maybe you're doing stuff with commerce tools, or you're working with I don't know, any of the tech platforms, any of the delivery platforms, any of those. You kind of do want to be around um, and push them and understand what their strategy is in this space, right? You've heard already Instacart doing a couple of things, with them. Well, first one being the original thing called Operator,
Hmm.
where you could go on and say, "Hey, I want to, I have these products in my pantry or in my fridge, and give me some meal ideas." It gives you meal ideas and say, "Buy this on Instacart," right?
Right.
It's kind of a crude experience, but it could ultimately get you to an order ready for Instacart. But now Instacart's going to be one of the early apps in the announced last week ChatGPT App Store.
Hmm.
So you'll actually be able to work with ChatGPT and say, "Hey, buy me milk, eggs, you know, salmon and Oreos, from
Yeah.
Instacart."
Yeah.
And it'll do that. And they're already seeing I can, one of the early apps is I can go into ChatGPT and say, "Hey, play The Doors on Spotify, for me," and it'll access your Spotify. So
Really.
it's going to be an interface to a bunch of stuff for people as it becomes this more prevalent AI assistant. So as a retailer, you do want to make sure that you have a connection to customers when they're using that.
So the question you want to always ask your tech partners is, okay, to what degree are you integrating with ChatGPT?
Yes. Yes. And how do I play within that? And then, you know, you can rely on that tech partnership for some of it, but you're still going to have a bunch of it otherwise. Like your website should be being crawled by them. And you want to make sure your website has all kinds of great information to help inform ChatGPT as to why customers should shop with you,
Yeah.
right? And so that's just another great use of your marketing content, right? So, I think there's a lot of the basic things you wanted to do to appeal to e-commerce, that you wanted to do to appeal to social. Like ultimately, that stuff's all going to matter, in this next wave of AI assistance, whichever one it is. So yeah, you gotta understand. You got to be a student of what's happening there.
Yeah.
Be curious and try to do some piloting with your tech partners when they're doing the piloting.
Gotcha. Well, as always, I come out of this conversation smarter than when I went in. Of course, that's a low bar, but what are you going to do?
Well, it's always fun, and you gotta love where our conversations take us.
Absolutely. Okay, well, listen, take care. We'll talk soon.